There is a specific kind of claustrophobia that only exists in a deep southern town where families have occupied the same zip code for 4 generations. When you grow up with the exact same kids, playing on the same dirt fields, shopping at the same single grocery store for 18 years straight, the town doesn't just feel small, it feels like a terrarium. And in a terrarium, there are no secrets. Every rumor spreads like a grass fire. So when an entitled, bruised-ego narcissist decided to weaponize that gossip mill against me, fabricating vile, life-ruining accusations just because I politely rejected his romantic advances, he thought he had the upper hand. He thought his family's money and his pristine $150,000 luxury car made him untouchable. He was wrong. Because while he was busy playing petty high school games, I was drafting a blueprint for his absolute total destruction. A plan that would rot his prized possession from the inside out and end with him sitting in a federal holding cell. To understand the sheer audacity of this kid, you have to understand my position in Oak Haven. I was the only openly gay kid in the county. I had come out young, mostly out of a refusal to live in the shadows, and by my senior year I wore that identity like armor. My family was fiercely supportive, which was a blessing, because outside of my tight-knit trio of friends, walking through the halls of my high school felt like wearing a scarlet letter. But I had survived. I had my acceptance letter to a top-tier university, and I was happily navigating a healthy, wonderful relationship with an older guy named Thaddeus. My conservative father had shaken Thaddeus's hand, looked him in the eye, and given his approval. That was all that mattered to me. I was untouchable until Corbin came along. Corbin was a junior. He was the quintessential all-American golden boy, completely spoiled, dripping in generational wealth, and entirely unhinged beneath a veneer of designer cologne and forced smiles. When he finally came out of the closet, it shocked absolutely no one. But a mutual acquaintance pulled me aside, worried that Corbin might struggle with the transition in our conservative town, and asked if I could take him under my wing. Give him some advice, show him the ropes. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a local diner. Corbin pulled into the lot driving a brand new matte black Mercedes-AMG GT, a $150,000 machine that his parents had bought him after he conspicuously drove his previous luxury sedan straight through the brick wall of a neighbor's pool house. Over lukewarm coffee, the conversation shifted violently. Corbin didn't want a mentor, he wanted a trophy. He leaned across the sticky laminate table and confessed his undying feelings for me. I let him down as gently as humanly possible. I smiled, thanked him for the compliment, but firmly reminded him that I was happily taken. The relationship with Thaddeus was common knowledge, a staple of local gossip. I thought that would be the end of it. Instead, I watched a terrifying micro-expression of pure, unadulterated venom flash across Corbin's perfectly manicured face. His jaw locked. His eyes went dead. He practically shoved his chair backward, storming out of the diner without another word. The retaliation began a week later. In Oak Haven, the transition from spring to graduation was marked by a massive junior-senior war, a chaotic series of theoretically harmless pranks. To keep things from escalating into vandalism, the student body managed a massive group chat with over 1,000 kids in it. Rules were set: no permanent damage, respect boundaries. I dropped a quick message in the chat, politely stating that I was renting my house and asked to be left out of the crossfire. My phone vibrated immediately. It was a direct reply from Corbin, broadcast to the entire school. What, you can't afford to buy the house with all the cash you're pulling in as a prostitute for your 50-year-old sugar daddy? I stared at the glowing screen, the words burning into my retinas. Thaddeus was nowhere near 50, but the truth didn't matter. The blood rushed to my ears, a high-pitched ringing drowning out the ambient noise of my bedroom. The sheer disrespect, the audacity to degrade a relationship built on genuine love, made a vein in my forehead throb with dangerous pressure. By Monday morning, the damage was done. The rumor had permeated the faculty lounge and the locker rooms. My track coaches pulled me aside with deeply uncomfortable expressions. The intensely religious teachers who already despised me found new, creative ways to make my life a living hell. I was suddenly a pariah, whispered about in the grocery store aisles. But I swallowed the rage. I had my friends, my boyfriend, and my college acceptance. I was almost out, then Corbin pushed his luck. He dropped the nuclear option. My phone rang late on a Thursday evening. It was Jackson, a straight, incredibly popular junior who happened to be the object of Corbin's obsessive, unrequited jealousy. Jackson sounded panicked, his breathing shallow. He told me that Corbin was currently flooding Instagram and Snapchat with a new, infinitely more dangerous narrative. Corbin was telling everyone that I had cheated on Thaddeus, filmed a graphic tape of the encounter, and that the other person in the video was Jackson. A minor, the prostitution rumor was humiliating. This new lie was a criminal accusation. It was the kind of rumor that could get college acceptances revoked, ruin reputations permanently, and invite police investigations. It crossed the line from petty revenge into an attempt to systematically destroy my future. Thankfully, Jackson wasn't an idiot. He had compiled a massive digital dossier. He sent me dozens of screenshots. Corbin's manic, misspelled diatribes, his obsessive DMS, and clear, undeniable proof that the entire story was a malicious fabrication. Jackson even provided a written statement clearing my name. I locked the evidence away in a secure cloud folder, a digital shield just in case the administration tried to intervene. The immediate threat was neutralized, but the psychological toll was immense. My anxiety spiked. My sleep evaporated. I realized then that taking the high road was a luxury I could no longer afford. Corbin needed to learn that actions have catastrophic consequences. I didn't invent the methodology of my revenge. I borrowed the framework from a dark corner of the internet, but the execution was entirely my own. My first stop was a dilapidated bait and tackle shop on the extreme edge of the county lines. I bypassed the artificial lures and walked straight to the back cooler, purchasing a massive glass jar of fermented catfish bait. If you have never been catfishing, you cannot fathom this smell. It is a gelatinous, coagulated slop of rotting blood, decaying shad, and cheese that has been left to fester in the sun. It smells like a biohazard. At 4 in the morning on a freezing February Tuesday, I drove to the high school parking lot. I knew there were no security cameras. My own car had been keyed months prior, a homophobic slur carved into the door that the administration claimed they couldn't investigate due to lack of surveillance. Now, that institutional negligence was my greatest asset. The air was bitter, biting through my jacket as I approached the sleek matte black silhouette of Corbin's Mercedes. I moved with clinical precision. Step 1. I took a handful of galvanized roofing nails and wedged them at sharp angles into the tread blocks of all 4 tires. I didn't puncture the sidewalls. A slashed tire is obvious. A deeply embedded nail creates a slow, agonizing leak that leaves you stranded on the highway days later looking like an accident. Step 2. I pulled a pair of heavy-duty latex gloves from my pocket and produced a Ziploc bag filled with freshly crushed poison ivy leaves, harvested from the woods behind my rental. I rigorously rubbed the toxic, invisible urushiol oil over the inside grips of both door handles. Step 3. I mixed a small tub of petroleum jelly with a handful of coarse driveway gravel. I smeared this gritty, abrasive paste thick along the rubber blades of his windshield wipers. The next time it rained, the moment he flicked that switch, the glass would be permanently, deeply scored, requiring a full windshield replacement. But the finale was the true masterpiece. I popped the hood of the jar of catfish bait. The stench hit the freezing air like a physical blow, making my eyes water and my stomach heave. Using a plastic funnel, I located the exterior cowl, the grated plastic intake at the base of the windshield where the vehicle's HVAC system pulls in fresh air. I poured the entire jar of congealed, rotting sludge directly into the vents. Because it was February, the freezing temperatures would keep the smell dormant. Corbin wouldn't be touching his air conditioning for at least another 6 weeks. That meant the biological matter would have over a month to thaw, rot, fester, and bake into the internal ductwork of the luxury car. The very first day the southern spring broke 80 degrees, the moment he turned that dial to cool off, the cabin of his $150,000 sanctuary would be violently flooded with the vaporized scent of 1,000 rotting corpses. It is a smell that permeates upholstery and bonds to leather. It is a smell you cannot detail away. The car would be totaled by stench alone. I slipped away into the darkness, leaving no trace, and waited. The spring thaw came, but I never got to see the immediate fallout of the vehicle's sabotage. Fate, it seemed, had a much grander, far more public execution in mind for Corbin. Being naturally paranoid, I occasionally monitored Corbin's digital footprint from a burner account, just to ensure he wasn't spinning up new, radioactive lies about me. One Tuesday in late April, I logged on and noticed something bizarre. Corbin's Instagram was gone, his Snapchat was deleted, his TikTok was deactivated, a complete total digital blackout. My curiosity piqued. I ran his full legal name through a global news search. What I found was so spectacularly unhinged, so deeply satisfying that I actually laughed out loud in my empty bedroom. There, staring back at me from the digital pages of a prominent Florida newspaper, was Corbin's mugshot. He wasn't smiling anymore. His designer shirt was wrinkled, his hair a greasy mess. The headline read, "Out-of-state teen arrested at major theme park after impersonating federal agent." The article detailed the absolute insanity of his downfall. Corbin, flying high on his own delusions of grandeur, had attempted to bypass the security checkpoints at a massive Orlando theme park. When stopped, he had flashed a fake, poorly counterfeited government badge and aggressively demanded entry, claiming he was a federal agent on official business. The real kicker. When local police arrived to detain the screaming, belligerent teenager, they found a loaded, unregistered firearm concealed in his designer backpack. He was facing multiple felony charges: impersonating an officer, carrying a concealed weapon into a restricted entertainment zone. It was the kind of catastrophic legal nightmare that money couldn't quietly erase. But the story hadn't reached our insulated little town yet. It hadn't generated enough national traction to pierce the Oak Haven bubble. I decided to be a public servant. I copied the link to the article. I downloaded the mugshot. I compiled a neat, highly readable digital package. And then I distributed it. I sent it to the massive high school group chat of over 1,000 students. I anonymously forwarded it to the Human Resources Department of the prestigious country club where he had secured a cushy summer internship. I dug up the admissions email for the elite private college he loved to brag about attending in the fall, and I sent it there too with the subject line, "Incoming freshman arrest record." The implosion was instantaneous. By third period, the entire school was buzzing with the news. The teachers who had sneered at me were now loudly condemning his criminal behavior. The track coaches shook their heads in disgust. Corbin was suspended, his internship evaporated by noon, and rumors swirled that his college acceptance was placed under immediate administrative review. His family, thoroughly humiliated by the felony charges and the inescapable public shame, pulled him out of town before graduation. I packed my bags a month later, leaving Oak Haven behind for a university thousands of miles away. I never found out exactly what happened when he turned on the air conditioning in that ruined Mercedes, but I like to imagine it happened right as the Florida police were slapping the cuffs on his wrists. A final, putrid blast of karma to accompany his ruined life. There is a profound lesson hidden beneath the wreckage of ruined luxury cars and felony charges. We live in an era where words are weapons, where a single fabricated rumor can permanently derail a life. But the truth about people who build their power on lies is that their foundations are incredibly fragile. They rely on the silence and the fear of their victims. When you refuse to be a victim, when you meticulously document the truth and strike back with calculated precision, the bullies always collapse under the weight of their own arrogance. If you're dealing with someone trying to drag your name through the mud, don't panic. Gather your evidence, bide your time, and let their own unhinged behavior be the catalyst for their downfall. If you enjoyed this story of absolute radioactive karma, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and share your own stories of petty revenge in the comments below. Until next time, keep your receipts and stay untouchable.